we're back. Last week was a very short video, I'm not gonna lie. I did not have the energy last week to film another video. That TikTok video that I just posted on here last week, the 3-minute one, took way more effort than this whole video to film. Not to edit, but to film. Because I think I played like 7 different people in that video. So after I did that, I was like, I'm not filming nothing else today. Like, I'm done. This week we're doing the Nickelodeon shows. I'm not gonna lie, it felt way harder to find like a lot of sitcoms on Nick. I found like 25 of them. Bro, what? Bitch, that made no sense. Can I just say this? Nickelodeon is trash now. Like, oh my God, what are the kids watching? I'm looking at this list and it's like, anything after my time that's on here is just like, and I understand I'm 23 years old, it's not for me, but like, I feel like even as a kid, I would not be watching some of this stuff. So I changed the categories up a little bit from last week because I just needed more columns. So I added like 1 more row. But Supreme is like just my personal favorites. Iconic, even if it's not something I watched, if it's iconic, it's gonna go there. Well, yes. Okay. Tokyo Tony reference. So that's like, it's like a valid show. Consider it kind of like the valid column in my last video. Underrated is like, it was good, but like a lot of people didn't watch it. So it kind of fell under the radar a little bit. Question mark is if like I just haven't seen it or it just looks weird. Chop is just like, I probably saw an episode and changed the channel, or just like, girl, what is this? All right, starting off, Victorious Supreme. That's one of my favorite shows on Nickelodeon. Like, I watch this all the time. Also, I feel like Nickelodeon was not really good at like music like Disney was, and they were trying to keep up. And this is like their saving grace when it comes to like music, because Disney was such a machine with like pushing singers and dancers and stuff. And Nickelodeon, this is like the one successful show that had singing. Everything else that they tried, I feel like didn't stick. H2O. I love this show. I'm gonna give it, well, yes, because it's valid. I want to put it in iconic, but like there's certain shows that I know are going in iconic that it does not fit the vibe of. I might come back to this. I don't know. Drake and Josh, Supreme. One of my favorite, one of the best shows on Nickelodeon, honestly. Keenan and Kel, also Supreme. And I have to put it on the same level because Drake and Josh is literally just a rebrand of Keenan and Kel. And I love Keenan and Kel. I used to watch it all the time. Back on YouTube when like you could watch like whole shows with no ads and no copyright, I was watching like reruns. Ned's Declassified. I want to say something about this cast. They have ruined this show for me because they have a podcast where they talk about like what I guess happened backstage.
Do you remember
consensual, like stuff that they were doing.
BJ.
And they're like really adamant about getting a reboot. I don't know why, but I don't know. They're a bit. They made it weird, man. But the show is dope. I'm gonna put it here. This is like the valid section. It's a Tokyo Tony reference. I'm sorry. Big Time Rush. Honestly, underrated. I wasn't the biggest fan of the group. Like, I really did not listen to their music like that. But the show was good. And it's also like one of the only shows that doesn't have a laugh track. So it actually has to be funny. Thundermints. I want to give it a chop. I watched by force, I watched this movie that they just did for this show. It was goofy. I'm gonna put it in the question mark section because I never watched it. Amanda Show, iconic. Shout out to Amanda Bynes. I don't watch this show, never really did because I'm not a 90s kid, so by the time, well, maybe it was airing, I've seen episodes, but like, I feel like Victorious, Drake and Josh was more my era, and I didn't go actively seek out episodes of this show like I did Kenan and Kel, but it's iconic. Like, she's a star. iCarly, Supreme, one of my favorite shows ever. Degrassi, Okay, so I think I was watching a different version of Degrassi when it was on Teen Nick, and I loved that version. I think this is like the OG with Drake, and I'm gonna put it in iconic, even though I did not watch it that much. Okay, this show, Nikki, Ricky, Dickie, and Don Chop. I think it's about them being like quadruplets. That's like the whole premise of the show. I can't think of any other plot lines, but this was definitely on when I was still watching Nickelodeon, and I never cared for it. All that iconic. The only reason I know people are probably looking at me crazy because I'm not putting these in Supreme, but I genuinely do not watch these shows as much as these ones. It's simply just a time thing. Like I'm not a '90s kid, so they wasn't on like that. When I was really young, I think they still have reruns, and I would watch. But like for me, it's an iconic because I didn't watch it as much. Henry Danger, the memes about this show are so hilarious, but the show itself, mm, I'm gonna say question mark for now. It's low key a chop. Both of these are low key a chop. I might have to revisit these chop. Just Jordan. I feel like if you're black, you know this show, but like I never really hear it in the conversation. Underrated as hell. It was a good show. I think maybe like 10 people saw it because it barely aired, but I think it was on Teen Nick. But I used to watch it. It was good. How to Rock. So this is another show where they tried to like do singing and stuff, and she could really sing. Like the show was good. I would put it in underrated just because it didn't really blow up like some of their other shows, and I think because it was music based, and Nickelodeon just isn't really known for like music outside of Victorious, but it was really good, and it just ended abruptly. I don't know. Sam and Cat. I want to put it in my faves, but I don't know if it has two of the best characters or two of the best sitcoms on Nick. I'm gonna put it here because Victorious and iCarly are both better than Sam and Cat, and it just ended really early. I don't know. Haunted Hathaway's Chop. Well, I've never seen it. I guess the concept is cool. I think they're like ghosts. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it up here. I don't even know. Danger Force Chop. Because I think it's just using context clues. I think it's based on Henry Danger. Girl, Chop. Okay, this show, Cousin Skeeter. I know it's a '90s classic. Was he a Muppet? Like what? I haven't watched a single episode of this show. I'm gonna put it in the question mark section because when I think of '90s shows, I think of all that Amanda Bynes, Keenan and Kel. I ain't never turned on Cousin Skeeter. Like I don't. I know it's the dad from That's So Raven is on it, but like you know what? I can't give anything that Megan Good is in a question mark. I'm gonna move it to. I think it's iconic for '90s kids. I don't watch it, but people seem to love it, so I'm gonna put it there. True Jackson VP. I want to give it underrated because I feel like it should have did way more than it did because it was that good. But I'm gonna just put it here, like the tier above it, even though it was underrated. I feel like because I think this might be the only Nickelodeon show that had like a black female lead. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I can't think of a single other Nickelodeon show, but I love that show. Like anything Kiki Palmer does is just dope. I'm definitely gonna rearrange these because I don't know. Fred, the show Chop,
The movies were funny
and
though.
then
I
I
forgot
think
to
he
mention that.
did Marvin. I'm gonna put it in question mark just because I know it probably wasn't nearly as annoying because he wasn't playing Fred. I think he was like a robot or something in that show. I don't know. I remember seeing commercials for it, but I never watched it. So I'm gonna put it in question mark because, girl, what? House of Anubis. I vividly remember the commercials for this show and I knew it was on and I never cared to watch it. It just seemed so boring. I don't know, something about them being in uniforms. Were they British? I don't know. I just. I'm gonna put it here. The Thundermans is going down here. Chop. Okay, this show is gonna unlock a core memory. You gotta be like a real Nickelodeon kid. Unfabulous. This show, I barely remember it airing. Like, I'm gonna put it in underrated because I remember watching it and I did like the show, but like I can't tell you a single plot line. I can't tell you a single character's name or anything. Like I can't remember nothing about this show. I'm being dead ass right now. Like all I remember is the theme song. Zoe 101, Supreme. So these are like my 5 Supremes. I would rather put Keenan and Kel in iconic because I don't know. I think I might leave it there actually. Let me see. This list looks crazy. I'm moving all of these. Okay, Henry Danger is a chop. I'm sorry. Sorry. Marvin, chop. What else should I move? I don't think Big Time Rush was underrated actually. I think a lot of people watched that show. So I'm gonna move it to this section. I think it did pretty well. Just Jordan, How to Rock, and Unfabulous are like the forgotten stepchildren of Nickelodeon for some reason. And they were all pretty cool. So I think this is my list. I feel like these aren't even unpopular. Like this is like valid. The only thing that I'm kind of conflicted about is H2O because I love that show down. That show is like really good. And it was a lot more serious than like all the other it's not a comedy. I want to move it. I think yeah, Supreme. I think it's going to go there. But it doesn't fit the vibe of any of these cuz this show is not funny. The only time it's funny is when it's not supposed to be. Like if something goes wrong or you're just laughing at the way they deliver a line or but like it's not intentionally a funny show at all. But the premise of it, them being mermaids, I feel like that's why it was so interesting. But like, I don't know. No, I'll put it in iconic. Bitch, if you don't put that square in a tier, it is 1 a.m. I'm trying to go to sleep. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I'm done. So my top 5 that I watch: Victorious, Drake and Josh, Keenan and Kel, iCarly, Zoe 101. These are like peak Nickelodeon. Iconic, The Amanda Show, Degrassi, all that. Cousin Skeeter do not belong in this section. Oh my, I can't even. I'm really speaking for the 90s kids that seem to love this show because I always hear about it, but I never watched it. I'm finna move this to the question mark. I'm sorry. I can't lie. Yep. This is my final list. I'm done messing with it. It's over. Argue. Tell me which ones you would move. Which ones are chops. Which ones are supremes. Is my list wrong? Is it right? Like, let me know. But this is the final list. It's not. I think I'm done. I keep moving shit around. I think I'm content now. I literally end up switching it again. I'm so indecisive. I'm sorry. This show is iconic. I just went on TikTok and watched like a bunch of clips of this show. I didn't watch it because I'm a 2000s kid, but it's iconic. So it's going to go up here. That's the last revision, bro. Everything else stays. Period. All right, bye.